Well, good morning. Good to see you guys today. If you don't know me yet, my name's Chris. I'm one of the pastors here. It's my privilege to share with you. So I want to start out with a question. Has any of you ever heard of the concept of hedonic treadmill? Yes, I stumped everyone. So let me tell you the thought process of hedonic treadmill. It's this. It's you want something in life, right? So you get on the treadmill of life to try to chase after it, and then something good happens in your life. And all of us want good things to happen, right? And then happiness happens and joy comes. The problem is that the happiness and the joy doesn't last as long as we thought. And so then we're like, I guess I need to get back on the treadmill and chase after something new. A bigger problem with that is, though, sometimes the thing that we chase after next has to be bigger or better because that thing that happened to us before becomes part of our normal. And so bigger and better things are the only things that can make us happy. Let me give you a couple examples just in case that's not resonating yet. How many of you ever bought a new car? Bought a new car? Yeah. The new car smell. This was worth $75,000, just this smell alone, right? Oh my. And then the gadgets, it's amazing. But after several months to a year, we turn to a baseline emotion, and now we're stuck with 4 more years of car payments, right? Or how about this one? You are praying and praying for a job. God, get me this job. God, get me this job. I want this job. God, get you the job. Yes! It's amazing. It's fresh. You have new opportunities, new people. After a few months to a year, it becomes a part of your normal, and you get back to a baseline emotion. And some people will even go as far like, man, I'm not happy anymore. Maybe that means I guess I have to climb the corporate ladder, or I have to get that promotion, or maybe I even need a new job. Get this one. This is funny. It's not really, but you'll get it. An economist at a university studied the life satisfaction of people purchasing a home. And they found that while there was satisfaction, it wasn't the satisfaction that people thought. Do you want to know their conclusion of the study? We as humans don't know what's going to make us happy. That was the conclusion of these economists at the university, right? The hedonic treadmill. The constant chase for more. It's just a modern way to describe what God has been lovingly talking to us throughout history. We can all be trapped by discontentment. And in our own strength, none of us are immune. Whether we have little or have much, it can affect every single one of us. So let's do this. Let's learn from a person who had it all. Because sometimes we think when people don't have as much, well, of course that's the reason they feel that way. They don't have as much. Let's learn from a person who had it all. His name was Solomon, and he was a king. Listen to see how good, okay? I want you to listen in to see how good he had it. Ecclesiastes 2 says this, I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. I deny myself nothing. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my labor, and this was the reward for all my toil. Pastor Julian mentioned last week that when he goes on vacation, he'll see a house, and he's like, I want that house. He'll go on vacation somewhere else. I want that house. Just to be real, Robin and I are the same way. So maybe it's just us, Pastor Julie. I don't know, but we go to San Francisco. Man, it would be amazing to have a home up here in San Francisco. We go to Cabo. What would it be like to have like a condo in Cabo right by the ocean so we can do the same thing? Man, it's so nice to dream, isn't it? It's free, of course. Guys, Solomon didn't dream it. He bought it. He bought it. I want the new Tesla. Heck, I'll buy out Elon Musk and have the whole company. I want to go to the Super Bowl with some friends. 50-yard line, baby. $50,000 tickets each, right? Favorite restaurant? We can eat there every night. In fact, I'll buy the whole place. Vacation in Hawaii? Sure, let's buy the whole island. He denied himself nothing that he desired and refused no pleasure. Now, I gave some modern examples. Let's look at his list. What are some of the things that he pursued? He pursued after wisdom and education. And there's nothing wrong with that. He was just like, I want to pursue and chase more and learn more and be more knowledgeable. He chased after pleasure and fun. He was the ultimate to-do list. He built houses and gardens. Any green thumbs in the room? He built vineyards. He was like, I want to do parks and reservoirs. So he became like the ultimate builder. Get this. I don't even think he's bragging. I think he's just being factual. He was so wealthy that he had his own singers. He was Simon Cowell, America's Got Talent. It says he was greater than anyone before him. So he had all the power in the world, even with denying himself nothing. Listen in to what Solomon thinks of it all. He says it right in the next verse. Yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done and what I toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless. Everything, Solomon? Everything was meaningless. A chasing after the wind. After everything you've done, after everything I've done, after everything that I have, nothing was gained under the sun. Wow. Most would give anything to experience Solomon's life, but to him it was meaningless. With all I've done, with all I've got, it's like I've gained nothing. He's just on the treadmill like we all are. How about a modern day example of someone who has and has done much? In 2005, Tom Brady, I don't know if you know who he is, I'm sure you do, NFL quarterback for the New England Patriots and also the Buccaneers later in his career. He had just won his third Super Bowl in 4 years. Okay? Listen in as he shares about that.
Why do I have 3 Super Bowl rings and still think there's something greater out there for me? I mean, maybe a lot of people would say, hey man, this is what it is. I reached my goal, my dream, my life is me. I think, God, it's got to be more than this. I mean, this can't be what it's all cracked up to be. I mean, I've done it. I'm 27, and what else is there for me?
What's the answer?
I wish I knew. I mean, I think that's part of me trying to go out and experience other things. But I love playing football and I love being the quarterback for this team. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of other parts about me that I'm trying to find, and different ways of expression, being around. I know what ultimately makes me happy are family and friends, and positive relationships with great people. And I think I get more out of that than anything.
Remember that noise? He had just won his third Super Bowl. This interview takes place 4 months later, and he's already saying, there's got to be more. The best of the best in his profession, 3-time Super Bowl champion at the time, now 7-time Super Bowl champion, lots of wealth. And he's saying there's got to be more. On the treadmill, there's got to be more. back to Solomon, he noticed something that often brings discontent. Let's look what it says in Ecclesiastes 4. He says, "And I saw that all toil and all achievement spring from one person's envy of another. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind." He's like, man, all this chaos in our world, all this achievement for more just because we're envious. Let me give some examples. Have you ever been satisfied with your career until you find out the perks your buddy has? 3 weeks of vacation? I only have like 2.7 weeks of vacation. 3% raise? I only got a 2.1% raise. I didn't get a raise. Have you ever been satisfied with a relationship until you saw a bigger rock on someone else's hand? Don't admit it. Don't raise your hand. Don't raise your hand, because I think everyone has a bigger rock than you, but I still love you a lot. Have you ever been satisfied with your home until you saw someone else's new granite countertops? I'm just giving an example. Think of some. Have you ever been satisfied with your relationship until you saw how another couple responded to one another? They don't struggle with this, and we do. Simply put, have you ever been satisfied with your life until you saw someone else's life? We've said this already. Comparison in and of itself isn't wrong, but it can lead to envy. I know we can't even really imagine this, but I think we can some. Let's go back about 80 years before TVs became common in the home, okay? Try to picture that for a moment. While comparison to others still happened, whether it's through family or coworkers or neighbors, the frequency for the opportunity to compare wouldn't have been as much. Now, don't hear us wrong, and don't hear me wrong. I love technology. I love media. I love social media. They can be really good tools, but there can be some downsides as well. Let me give an example. In the 80s, there was a TV show came out, and it was called, yes, The Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with Robin Leach. Who remembers that show? Anybody? Yeah, there's some of you that remember that show. Guys, nothing wrong with that show at all. But it was one of the first shows to give us an inside glimpse into the lives of really wealthy people. And with shows like that becoming popular, the frequency to compare our lives started to go up a little bit, okay? Now today, at the palm of your hands, at any moment, we can watch travel shows. I don't even know where this is, and I want a home there. I've never even heard of the place before, but it looks so beautiful. We can watch flipping homes with Chip and Joanna Gaines, decorating homes, bodybuilding reels, wealth building podcasts. You can peer into almost any aspect of life and be flooded with envy of every kind at a pace that's not even normal. It wasn't normal to be able to just go like this and say, that body, that home, that travel place, that career. And before you know it, we're like, man, my life is kind of average. Or worse, my life sucks. But does it really? When discontentment sets in, it can trap us with ungratefulness. And now we're not even in a neutral baseline like we talked about on that hedonic treadmill. We're in the negative now. And so now to get from here to neutral to happy, we're even running harder on this treadmill. I guess I have to go after more. It can also trap us by staying too focused on the past. How many of you have said this before? We've all heard it, but how many, man, do you remember the good old days? Where bread tasted better? Really, because it was cheaper. Nowadays, $10 for a loaf of bread. If you've ever said that, you're maybe starting to get a little older than you want to admit. But you may also subtly be revealing to yourself that discontent is settling in. Now, to be clear, don't want any misunderstandings. It's fine to look back. It can be fun. Memories are powerful. Our past is a part of who we are. That said, if we're not careful, it's hard to be satisfied and content with the present when we're always desiring to go back to the way things were. Or if we're not trapped by our past, we can be trapped by the relentless pursuit of the future. Now, to be clear again, it's good to have dreams. It's good to make plans. It's good to take actionable steps towards your dreams, towards your goals, towards improvement. Future-mindedness is a very powerful tool to have in our arsenal. But if we're not careful, discontentment can produce impatience, which can bring unrealistic expectations to ourselves. I guess I have to be on here harder. Or we can bring unrealistic expectations to others. You better get on this treadmill too and do this with me. We even try to get God on the treadmill. God, what do you, we even have unrealistic expectation with God. God, you better be running with me right now. And God's like, I'll keep the pace of the treadmill. But it leaves us on edge as we relentlessly chase after the wind, just like Solomon did. While there are many more, let me give you one other way that discontentment can be a trap. Do you know discontentment can actually prevent us from giving? Here's a very common saying that I hear often. I'll give when I have enough. But discontentment tells us we'll never have enough and that we're not enough. So think about it when it comes to your resources. I'll give when I have enough. I don't have enough, so you never give. Or same with time. I'll give my time when I have enough, and you don't feel like you never have enough, so you don't give. Or same with yourself. I want to give of myself, but I just don't feel that I am enough. And people are robbed of what you can give to them simply because you feel discontent about yourself. I'm not enough. And if I'm not enough, I won't be enough for other people. Do you see how big of a trap discontentment can be? It's huge. Now, are we destined to stay on this never-ending treadmill, or is there a way to be free from it? Thank God. Thank God we're not praying right now. Okay, guys, go home. Thank God the story is not over. Of course freedom is available. Listen in. It says in Ecclesiastes 3, I know that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live, that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. See, God knew we'd be trapped by discontent, and his goal for us is freedom. So he gives us a gift, that gift being contentment. Why? Because contentment brings freedom. It takes us off the treadmill, not continuing to chase after something, because we're satisfied with what we have and who we are. He's like, you know what? I know you're going to be trapped, but I want to give you a gift. I want to do something inside you that helps you be satisfied with your life. I knew about hedonic treadmill before anybody discovered it, before anyone named it. It's simply discontentment. And I have a gift that can help you overcome that. Let's look at some other verses, this time in Philippians 4. Another person named Paul says this. He says, I've learned to be content whatever does it say I've learned to be content whatever the Solomon circumstances, whatever the Tom Brady circumstances, whatever my family members' circumstances? No, it says, I've learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I've learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. Do you notice how the outward shifted? I have plenty. I'm in need. But his peace remained consistent because he learned how to be content, because contentment brought freedom. You see, sometimes verses like this can be misunderstood, especially if you have a drive, and it's good to have a drive. Is it bad to have more? No. Is it not okay to be disappointed? Of course it's okay to be discouraged at times when life doesn't go the way you want it. Is it wrong to improve your life? Absolutely not. Let me give you one of the definitions of discontent. I think it will help you see the balance. Here's the definition. Discontent, pay attention, is the restless aspiration for improvement. Notice the key. Is it unhealthy to aspire for improvement? No way. The key word is restless. The never-ending chase for more. That's what gets unhealthy and becomes a trap. Restlessness is an opposite of peace. Discontentment is an opposite of freedom, and Jesus wants us to have freedom and peace. So how did Paul, the writer of Philippians, stay peaceful and content through wildly changing circumstances? Listen in, Philippians 4. I can do all this through him who gives me strength. Now, this verse is probably very familiar to some of you, but let's try to look at it with fresh eyes. In some translations, it says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And there's nothing wrong with that translation, but here's what Paul wasn't saying. And you can leave that up for a little bit, Adam. Here's what Paul wasn't saying. He wasn't saying that I'm limitless or I can do anything. This translation of the verse that we see here keeps it in context. Paul says, I can do all this. What's the all this that Paul's talking about? The all this that Paul is talking about is, I can be content in whatever the circumstances. If I have plenty, I'm content. I don't have to restlessly chase after more and more. But even when I'm wanting, I've learned to be content. Now again, we're passionate around here about not bringing misunderstanding. So hear this, okay, just to be clear. We realize outward blessings can make things easier at times or make life more enjoyable. No one's arguing that. Whether the outward blessing is a relationship, a friendship, a spouse, or a lot of the outer things that we talked about, homes, cars, more, promotions, whatever. No one's arguing that. But even though Paul's outer world was so drastically up and down, Paul's soul was at peace because Jesus gave him supernatural strength from the Spirit to be content. And here's the cool thing. All of us who follow Jesus have the same Spirit and the same access to that strength. You know, I don't know about you. I'll just talk about me for a minute. When I don't have much, I'm looking for more. But here's what's interesting. When I have much, I'm still looking for more. Again, maybe it's just me and you, Pastor Julian. It's okay. This reveals that being content isn't necessarily circumstantial, it's a me thing. It's a me issue. It reveals that I need a strength that only Jesus can provide. But here's what's cool. Both you and God value the same thing. You both want yourself to be free. God just knows what that's going to take. And he has the strength to give you that contentment. Here's the thing. We all know, as I've been sharing these examples, I might have not hit your example, but we all know that we struggle with this human weakness called discontentment. And I'm not bringing that up so we can feel bad, it's just to bring an awareness that we all have this weakness. And not only do we know it, the Bible reveals it through all the verses that we just shared, and there are plenty more in the Bible. And even this hedonic treadmill thought process, we even have a modern way to describe it, demonstrates our weakness. But we're not going to stay at our weakness. Like I said, there's hope. We don't have to stay there. We don't have to be on this treadmill chasing wind. Let's be people who ask for and receive his strength to be content and free, because contentment brings freedom. We think the next home, the next relationship, the next career, the next thing, the next person, we think that, and those are all good things. But contentment is what brings freedom. For those of you who are unsure who Jesus is, maybe today you find yourself exhausted on the treadmill. You don't have to stay on it. Today you can ask for God's help. Now, there's actually a truth in what Solomon and Tom Brady and others say about more. There is more, and it's found in Jesus. While relationships and outer blessings are amazing and they can bring some satisfaction to our lives, Jesus is the more that everybody's actually chasing after. And if that's you today, you can simply talk to him and say something like, God, I need you. Please forgive me. Show me how to find peace and contentment in you. I want to get to know you and learn how to follow you. But I know that many of you in here already know Jesus. But we can get on the treadmill too, can't we? We can too. What are we, the church for what? They're starting to get it. Yes, we're the church for imperfect people. We can get on the treadmill too. And I want to encourage you with two things before we pray together. Again, not for guilt's sake, for awareness' sake. We all know that we have this weakness. So because of that, maybe it's waking up, asking God, PK, Pastor Julian, Obi-Wan, they've been talking to us about these things, and I realize that this week I have the potential to pretty quickly get discontent. I might see someone else's boss, and I wish I had that boss. And I might see someone else's spouse. I wish I had that spouse and got along that way. I might see someone else's possession and want that possession. Can you help me have the strength to overcome that weakness? Instead of living with the weakness and just kind of like, I guess this is my lot. I'm just going to stay on the treadmill. I'm going to stay on the treadmill. That sounds like fun. Not. We have a choice we can make. And maybe for some of us, it has to be a consistent prayer. God, I know that probably sometime this week, through the radio ad, through the streaming, through the whatever, something's going to come along, and it's just going to get at my discontentment a little bit. And I just don't want it to take a foothold. I want your strength to take a foothold so I remain content, so that I remain free. And another thing, And we don't continue to say this just to be repetitive. We're saying this because it works. Practice gratitude. And I'm not talking about thanking every once in a while. Thank you for the meal. Do that. Or you can do that if you want. But practicing gratitude, making it a habitual part of your life, keeps you focused on what you do have. I'm not talking about thanking every once in a while. Everybody does that. I'm about practicing it consistently, because we're all going to be tempted to start looking that way. I don't have that. I don't have that. God, thank you for what I do have. I have this. I have that. I have that. So I want to encourage you. The next time you see the new granite countertops, thank him for something. Genuinely thank him for, God, I don't have the granite countertops, but I have a pretty awesome spouse. Thank you. The next time you hear of someone's raise that's higher than yours, or you didn't get one, God, I wish I made a little bit more, and I hope that you bless me with that at some point. But thank you for the relationships I have at work. Start to, with his strength, with his power, to focus your mind on what we do have. Because, guys, we have a lot. We really, really do. So if we can bow our heads and close our eyes. And there's nothing weird about closing your eyes. It's just a way to focus. Or for some of you to catch up on your beauty sleep, whatever. But just, I want you guys, before Pastor Steve, one of the gifts we try to give you here at OB1 is to slow you down long enough to reflect and to think and to talk and to ask. And so for some of you, it's just starting with, God, I know I have this weakness, and he's not here to shame us at all. God, I know I have this weakness. Through your Spirit, would you give me the strength to be content? Because I want to be free. I'm sick of chasing the wind on the treadmill. It's tiring. It's tiring. Give me the appropriate balance between pursuing more, because there's nothing wrong with pursuing more, and making it become restless. And for some of you, maybe you even want to go a step further. And while Pastor Steve gives us a moment, maybe you want to just thank God for like 3 to 5 things in your life. And everyone ask this, because you're here right now, and you're about to walk out. You're about to go about your week. You're going to start hearing the radio ads again. You're going to start getting into life again. You're going to see the media and the social media. You're going to see other people's lives. Ask God now, God, would you remind me of this moment? So when that happens, I can turn to you and ask for your strength and practice gratitude. So take a few moments.